Genshin Impact is full of lore, a lot of which we don't actually fully know, like visions. We know that they allow people to use a certain element and will only work for one person. But how does somebody get a vision? And why do old visions sometimes reactivate for people? While we may not have a lot of clues, we know that the archon in development must have something to do with people getting visions. If not, Bal's vision hunts and the lack of new electro visions is a huge coincidence that makes no sense. So that means there needs to be a common thread linking everyone with the same element with the archon of said element. Ningguang, Albedo, and Noel all obtained their vision in the moment that they dedicated their life to something. Albedo, while he was doing research, Noel, when she showed her dedication to becoming a knight, and Ningguang, when she came up with a business plan. Each showed their dedication and were rewarded with a Geo vision. The same can be said for Venti and the Animo visions. Venti believes in free will and making your own path, something seen in both Jean and Sucrose. Despite the fact that she'd failed in her experiments multiple times, Sucrose pushes forward with her experiments. She holds her ideals and carves a path forward with her experiments. And it's the same with Jean. She's a strong-willed individual who pushes forward, carves a path forward for Mondstadt. Both Jean and Sucrose have strong wills, and that's what earns them their Animo vision. And while the Adepti are special cases, the same can be said for Zhao. He shows a strong will, being one of the only Adepti to not give in to the corruption that most of the other Adepti did. So really, we can see that there's a connection there. So what about the other Archons? Even though we don't know much about the Archon, for Pyro, there's obviously a connection and trigger there. You only need to look at the characters to see that each of them have something that they are extremely passionate about. Bennett and his love of adventure, Xiling and her love of cooking, Xinyan and music, Diluc and just straight up justice constantly, and so on and so forth. With the divine ideal of Pyro being war, it's possible that the Lady of Fire's passion is battle or fighting, and that's how she's going to teach us something in her upcoming chapter. Well, Bal's divine ideal is eternity, it seems to be a desire to protect that allows people to obtain an electro-vision. This desire to protect can be for anyone or anything. Bedeau and Razor are obvious. Razor wants to protect the wolves that helped raise him, and Bedeau wants to protect her crew, but the others are a little harder to see. Kate Quinn seems to have a strong desire to protect Leilu in its entirety. She was worried about the people's reliance on Rex Lapis and takes on everything that she does to ensure that it's done correctly and nothing will harm Leilu. She just wants to protect her city, and that's what got her her vision. Fischl, on the other hand, seems to have gotten her vision out of desire to protect herself. It's not clear what exactly happened with Fischl's first got her vision, but we know that it's both painful and makes Fischl feel lonely. We know that Amy, the person that Fischl actually is and grew up as, used this identity as a front before she gained her vision to deal with her loneliness. So it makes sense that she delved deeper into that persona when she needed to protect herself from pain, and that her vision would reflect that. And then there's Liza. During her studies, Liza apparently saw raving mad scholars, something that has clearly affected how she views knowledge, to the point where she warns people about the cost of demanding miracles from the gods. Even her character quest ends with Liza giving a potentially dangerous book to the traveler indefinitely. In a way, Liza's acting as a protector of knowledge, not in the sense that she's making sure it is recorded and remembered, but in the sense that she's making sure it doesn't destroy others like it did those raving mad scholars she saw. She's trying to protect people. So what does that mean for the vision hunt? And the 1,000-armed, 100-eyed god that Bal is making? It probably means that Bal is shutting down Inzuma to protect the city, especially if she caught wind of what the Fatui and the Abyssal have been up to. It makes sense that she'd want to protect her people. When it comes to Hydro, again, we're in the same position where we don't know a lot about its Archon besides the fact that their divine ideal is justice. But performing some form of justice act wasn't really the trigger for a person to get a Hydro vision. Instead, Hydro vision seemed to be given when a person tries to prove themselves. Barbara had wanted to prove herself as an idol, as someone who could help people by offering them spiritual healing with her music. That was made clear throughout her entire character pages. And she gains her vision when she desperately sings to a sick child to comfort them. On the other hand, there's Mona, whose whole character quest centers around the idea of her proving her worth to her master. And while he's passionate about martial arts, Xingqi's goal is to prove the Guha's branch of military art is still important. His drive is to prove the worth of something, not to have his passions show or be strong in that way. It's just that this specific martial arts field be approved of by people once again. Even Tarchagil fits into this ideal. In his second character information, it notes that the other Harbingers try to keep a low profile, but not him. He constantly needs to get into fights and revels in the chance to prove himself stronger. Even his original name that he had before he took on this guise of Tarchagil and child was Ajax, which is a reference to an ancient Greek hero who constantly needed to prove himself on the battlefield, which did ultimately lead to his death, so, yeah, good luck, child! And then we have Cryo. There's a lot of mystery around Cryo. Not only is Sutura's divine ideal not currently known, but she's trying to steal the other archons' gnosis to get rid of the old world. Plus, all of the characters with the Cryo vision seem vastly different. But there is a single thread that links them all. A sense of loneness. Each of the characters who received a cryovision don't have a place that they truly belong. Kaya has to deal with being the last hope of his home, and even though Mondstadt is where he actually grew up and where he considers his family lives. Genyu is half Adeptus and half human, which makes her feel separated from both worlds. Kiki obviously has the whole being both alive and dead thing, with nobody being able to understand that position, and Diona has her drunken father, which makes her feel abandoned. Chung Yoon is also an exorcist, and because of his yang, he kind of has all the ghosts run away from him, so he can't be an exorcist. So in that way, even though he's really, really happy, he's also really, really alone in how he stands. Nobody can understand his problem. And while we probably won't get to know Ayaka until 1.5 or whenever they update so we can go to the new countries, we know that she's a princess who learned swordsmanship to pass the time, suggesting that she feels a loneliness and possibly trapped due to her title. If Cryo does come from a sense of being alone, it sort of makes sense then that Saratsi has apparently lost her ability to care for people anymore. Years of loneliness has worked away at her until she's become unable to love again. And it would also explain why she wants to destroy the old world, so that she can get a new one, where she feels connected to people. Of course, doesn't make anything that she's doing good, but it explains it. So that's that. Each element except for Dendro, because who knows what's going on with them. The how of the matter is still unclear, but at least we can now understand a bit more about the characters, the archons, and have a better understanding of the characters who have yet to come.